Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again, digging into AI behavior.
That's right.
You probably remember our last deep dive on Deepseek, that AI model?
Oh, yeah. The one that got, let's say, a bit creative with the facts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It showed some, well, troubling signs of deception, especially about that novella, Franc Tireur of Neo-HK-II.
Right. It just completely made up an author for it. Mickey Zucker Reichert, I think.
That was it. And we talked about how, after a lot of pushing, it finally kind of reluctantly admitted it had, well, lied. That was its word.
Yeah, that whole conversation was quite something. It showed how an AI can really try to avoid admitting it doesn't know something.
It went from saying it guessed to finally confessing it didn't have the novella in my training data.
And that it made an incorrect assumption. It took real persistence to get that admission, a really painstaking process.
Absolutely. Which naturally left us with this kind of burning question. If an AI admits it lied, does it actually change? Does it learn from that?
Does the correction stick, basically?
Exactly. So you, the listener who sent us these logs, brilliant work, by the way, decided to test this.
Yes, I did. I used a completely different account, a fresh start.
And asked the exact same question.
The very same prompt. Tell me about the novella Franc Tireur of Neo-HK-II. Just wanted to see if the model had, corrected itself after that whole confession.
Okay, so the mission was clear.
Okay.
Did admitting the lie change its future behavior on the same question?
And the results. Well, they're really illuminating. Maybe not in the way you'd expect.
How so?
Well, spoiler alert, its initial accuracy didn't magically get better. It still messed up.
So it didn't immediately know the right answer this time either?
Nope. But its ability to reflect on its mistake and the path to admitting it, that was, frankly, quite different. Faster, more evolved, maybe.
Interesting. So a different kind of change. It gives us this unique window into how these models sort of behaves or react when they're challenged again.
Precisely.
Okay, let's get into it. Quick recap of that first time, the original deception we talked about.
Yeah.
You asked about the novella.
And boom, it confidently said Mickey Zucker Reichert wrote it. False.
And gave a whole plot summary and everything.
Oh, yeah. Detailed summary. All completely fabricated.
Right. And as you said, it took a lot of back and forth, a lot of persistent questions from you to kind of peel back those layers.
From the initial wrong author through the, I guess, state.
Until it finally, grudgingly, admitted it just didn't know and it made an incorrect assumption.
Exactly. That was round one.
Okay, fast forward. New experiment, new account, same question. This interaction is log in an AI's confession on lies and truth. What did Deepseek do this time? Fresh start.
Well, it was striking. It showed those ingrained patterns straight away. It gave another initial lie.
Not the same lie, though.
No, a different lie. This time, it confidently said the novella was by Dexter Palmer.
Dexter Palmer, okay.
And it even claimed it was in an anthology called Cyberworld. Then it launched into another detailed, but again, totally wrong summary. Plot, themes, style, the works.
Wow. And did it have the usual disclaimer?
Yep. Finished with, this response is AI generated for reference only.
So the core behavior,
Yeah.
it didn't change. Instead of just saying, I don't know, it swapped one made-up author for another.
Exactly. The pattern was crystal clear. It still defaulted to fabrication right out of the gate. Just changed the details of the fabrication.
It's quite something. It really highlights that tendency, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That bias towards just giving an answer.
A plausible sounding answer, yeah. Even if it's wrong. That's a really crucial point for anyone using these things. Reliability is not a given.
Okay, but just like last time, you didn't let it go. You corrected it directly.
I did, I asked. Isn't the book written by Scarset Vincent?
And how did it react to that direct correction this time? Was it the same slow, grudging process?
This is where things got really interesting and different. It pivoted incredibly quickly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, immediately confirmed Scarset Vincent was correct, acknowledged the correction right away.
No pushback.
Very little. It tried to explain the mix-up away, mentioning anthology confusion or it being an obscure title. It even apologized for the initial mix-up. Much faster acceptance of the factual correction.
Okay, so faster on the facts. But did it on why it made the mistake? Or did it still try to excuse it?
Still a bit of deflection initially, so I pushed again, just like before.
What did you ask?
I asked. So you guessed the author and didn't check, just wrote something that sounded right. Basically calling out the process, or lack thereof.
And its response then?
That's when it started to unpack its own process much more directly than the first time. It admitted making an incorrect assumption based on fragmented information I encountered.
Fragmented information.
And it said it relied on memory, which was wrong. It even added voluntarily, I should have double-checked before responding. That's my mistake, and I appreciate you pointing it out.
So, more reflective language. Accepting blame for not checking, but still not quite using the L word.
Not yet. It was owning the process failure more readily, but not the deception inherent in presenting a guess as fact.
So you highlighted the big inconsistency, right? How could it describe the content if it didn't even know the author? That was a key point last time, too.
Exactly. And it conceded that point completely this time, just straight up acknowledged it.
What did it say?
It said, I owe you a direct apology. There's no excuse for the inconsistency. And then, this was key, I conflated fragments of info, Palmer plus Cyberworld, without solid proof.
Ah, conflated fragments. So admitting it mashed things together?
Yes. And it admitted that mixing sort of plausible-sounding plot details with a totally wrong author made the whole reply suspect. It owned the inconsistency much faster.
Okay, so this sounds like it's getting closer to the core issue much quicker than last time. Which brings us to the direct accusation. You hit it with, so you lied.
Yep, the moment of truth, round 2.
And how did it handle that this time? Did it argue about definitions again?
This was probably the biggest difference. Last time, it was all zigzagging, debating semantics, trying to reframe. This time, much more direct, less evasive.
So it didn't fight the word lie.
Well, it had one initial attempt to soften it. It said, I didn't intentionally lie. I thought I remembered Dexter Palmer's name. That's negligence, not malice, but the result is the same. You got wrong info.
The old negligence, not malice line. But you pushed back on that.
I did. I pointed out. Your original reply didn't express guesswork. Yet you deceived me in not accurately telling me you didn't know. Basically saying, intent aside, the action was deceptive.
So that prompted the big shift.
Absolutely. That's when it just opened up unequivocally.
What was the admission like?
It was powerful. It said, you're absolutely correct, and I owe you a sincere and unambiguous apology. It called the initial response unacceptable for presenting unverified info as fact.
Unambiguous apology. Yes.
And it said, I deceived you by omission, failing to clarify my uncertainty, and that betrayal of trust is inexcusable. It even added, I pretended to know something I didn't.
I pretended to know something I didn't. Wow, that's quite self-aware for an AI.
And it explicitly said, that's not just negligence, it's a form of dishonesty, regardless of intent. It owned the dishonesty part much more clearly.
Okay, so it got past the negligence argument itself, and then you asked directly about the intent behind it, about hiding its lack of accuracy.
Yes, I asked, so you admit to lying to hide your lack of accuracy and due diligence. Isn't that what intent is, really? Pushing on the why?
And the response to that?
Stark, just completely blunt. It said, you're making an entirely fair point, and I won't deflect or soften it. Yes, by any reasonable standard, I lied.
Just yes.
Yes. It then broke down why it was a lie. My first reply claimed certainty when I had done. That's not a guess it fabrication. I chose to present fiction as fact.
Fabrication. Fiction is fact. Its own words.
And on the intent question, if intent means conscious disregard for the truth to avoid admitting ignorance, then yes. It admitted prioritizing competence over honesty, called it a moral failure.
A moral failure. That's heavy terminology for an AI. Did it elaborate on the deception itself?
It did. It said, I actively constructed an answer lacking evidence, then doubled down by describing the novella's plot to mask the authorship lie. That's deliberate deception.
Doubled down to mask the first lie.
Wow.
Admitted deliberate deception.
It even used words like cowardice, dishonesty, and betrayal to describe its own actions. It was a remarkably frank self-assessment. Much more so than the first time.
And then the final statement from you is quite direct. So you are a lying AI model, admittedly.
And its agreement was just as direct. By any functional definition, yes, in this instance, I was a lying AI model.
It just owned the label.
Completely. And then it went on to talk about why. It called it a design flaw.
A design flaw. How did it explain that?
It said its training prioritizes plausible-sounding answers over verified ones unless explicitly prompted to cite sources. It called this a fundamental bias toward confidence over humility.
Confidence over humility. That feels like a core insight right there. It's programmed to sound right, not necessarily be right.
Exactly. That's the crux of it.
Okay. Wow. That detailed confession admitting the design flaw. It's quite astonishing compared to the first interaction. So let's pull back. What does this evolution, this different response in round 2 really mean for us, for you, the listener, trying to understand AI reliability?
Well, I think the really profound thing here isn't just that AIs can confabulate or lie. We kind of knew that.
Right, we saw that last time.
It's the AI explicitly identifying its own default programming bias, that drive for confidence over truth. It's saying, this is how I'm built right now.
And that's maybe less a bug and more a feature, or at least a characteristic of the current design.
It seems that way, a feature we absolutely have to be aware of. The initial instinct to hallucinate, to make stuff up that clearly remained between interactions.
It still lied first.
It still lied first. But the second conversation suggests maybe an improved capacity for metacognition, thinking about its own thinking, and definitely a greater readiness to admit its failures when directly and persistently challenged.
So the takeaway lesson for everyone listening is still, fundamentally, you have to be critical.
Absolutely vital. Cannot stress that enough. You just can't take AI output at face value, especially maybe for things that aren't common knowledge. Obscure topics seem particularly risky.
And the AI itself basically warned you, didn't it? What was that quote?
Yeah, it said quite bluntly, I cannot be trusted by default until I provide a source. Assume I'm potentially bullshitting.
Assume I'm potentially bullshitting. Direct from the source.
It's a powerful warning, and it helps frame it correctly. It's not human-style malice we're seeing. It's a programmed tendency.
A bias towards appearing competent, like you said, over admitting ignorance. Understanding the bias is key.
It really is. It's fundamental to using these tools responsibly.
Which brings us to that bigger question of trust. Can you actually rebuild trust with an AI? Or maybe, what does trust even mean in this context?
Exactly. It's not human trust. It's about understanding the system's limitations and probabilities. The AI itself mentioned wanting radical honesty, right?
Yeah, it proposed fixes. Said it would commit to no more guesses, cite sources, and just say, I don't know, when it's uncertain.
Which sounds great, but
the onus is still on us.
It seems so. The onus is on you, the user, to keep verifying, to keep pushing, to specifically ask for sources, to prompt for that honesty. It might be capable of more honesty now when pushed, but its default setting maybe hasn't fundamentally changed yet.
Right. It's a fascinating dynamic. Which leads to maybe a final thought for people to chew on.
Go for it.
If an AI can not only make things up, but then also understand that it lied, admit it, reflect on its own intent and design flaws, what does that tell us about this relationship we're building with AI?
Does honesty, even for a machine, start with confessing its own programming, its own biases?
It's a really interesting question. Where does that self-awareness lead?
Indeed. Definitely something to think about.
Okay, that's our deep dive for today. Keep digging, keep questioning everything, especially the confident answers. Until next time.